People that have woken up in bed with a stranger. What's your story? Story 1. Probably not what you imagined. As a kid, I would sleepwalk at night. In the morning, I would have no recollection of what happened. I spent the night at a friend's house when I was about 10, and the family had a fire going in the fireplace in their living room. My friend's mom decided to sleep on the couch to make sure the fire went out, and the dad went to sleep in the parents' bedroom. Due to the door to their bedroom always being closed, I had never been inside, which was very, very disorienting the next morning when I awoke in said bedroom, as the dad was just waking up and getting out of his bed. He had assumed during the night I was his son, and didn't question anything when I slipped into bed with him. Kudos to Dad for not making it any more awkward than it already was. And that's the story of how I awoke next to my friend's dad. Story 2. Lol, oh God, wish this hasn't happened as often as it has. As a tiny female, I'm lucky to be alive. One specifically stands out. I was out drinking with my dad, was in town visiting, uncle, and my brothers. Across from our table are these two guys visiting from Tennessee. At some point, my uncle starts chatting with them and invites them to join our table. One is very Matthew McConaughey-like, so naturally I'm trying to be subtly flirtatious. I drank a lot that night, to the point that I'm pretty spotty on leaving the bar, or even the fact that my family just let me leave with these two random guys. I woke up in their hotel room. Turns out it was 7 guys sharing the room, and I had the entire bed to myself. They even put the comforter over me, while a couple had the other bed and the rest slept on the floor. One of the dudes even went and got breakfast for us all, including me. They tried to convince me to go to the Fish concert that they were in town for, but I had to work. Story 3. I used to date this really shitty guy. We lived together for 5 years, and in that time some hella dicey shit happened. But this one makes the top 5. It was a Sunday night, around 2 a.m. I was asleep in bed when I'm woken by the feeling of someone staring at me. Assuming it's my then boyfriend, I tell him I'm trying to sleep and don't want to have sex. Then I hear a laugh I'd never heard before. I fly out of bed, and there's this guy sitting on the edge of my bed laughing his ass off. I ask who he is. He says, "I'm Andrew, boyfriend's buddy." Then he tells me how my ex told him I was a prude and would be mad if he came in our bed, but he didn't believe my ex-cause boyfriend was so cool. Why would he date a boring girl? Then he asked if I wanted some coke. I walked out and told my ex to get rid of him and let me sleep since I worked in the morning. His reply, "Well, now that you're up, can you take us to McDonald's?" Story 4. I was in college staying near campus and decided to go to a frat party. I decided to walk home before the liquor kicked in too much. By the time I got home, I was blacking out. I barely made it. Got to my bed and passed out. Didn't even take my shoes off, lol. I woke up off and on throughout the night, feeling some person next to me. I figured it was a girl I had been dating. She'd come over if she got scared at night, or some to sleep at my place. I never thought much of it. She cuddled me that night, and it felt amazing. Guys love being the little spoon sometimes. The sun woke me up, and I decided to go pee. I remember having to step over her to get out of bed, losing my balance because I was still drunk. I go pee, come back, and notice this is not the girl I'm dating. Also, she's in a bra/panties. F******. I then notice I only have boxers on. Don't remember getting undressed. My clothes are folded on my computer chair next to a half-eaten grilled cheese. I immediately went to my roommate's room to ask who she was. He's in bed with his girl. I woke him up, and he said the girl claimed she knew me. I was afraid. I go back to the living area until she wakes up. Apparently, she didn't have a ride home, and since she stayed far, I drunkenly offered her a place to crash. She helped me walk home, unlocked the door for me cause I was out of it, undressed me, and folded my clothes. Then she made me grilled cheese cause I was drunkenly begging for one. I ate half of it and laid down. Initially she was on the couch, but said I was calling to her loudly like a banshee lol. She cuddled me until I fell asleep, then she fell asleep lol. I was embarrassed and thankful. She took care of me lol. I took her home and we laughed about it. We stayed friends for a long time, hung out more than a few times. We were never more than friends, because I was already dating someone. Sometimes I wonder if she was the one for me. Ache how we lost touch. I don't even like grilled cheese. Story 5. I've done that a lot. Most recently, just a couple days ago. I tend to ask why we're naked and where my clothes are. My wife says I will discreetly paw around for my sidearm, despite not having carried a work-related sidearm for years. It usually feels pretty cool, like, oh, I'm in bed with an attractive person. That's gotta be good. There is also often a little concern that I'm naked and in bed where that might not be appropriate. This is all caused by postictal amnesia, temporary memory loss after a seizure. I did have this happen a long time back, in the way I guess OP meant. After a party, I awoke with a very small, very effeminate, very good-looking man in bed with me. I was straight, which made it even more odd. I recalled seeing him the night before, but we hadn't spoken. I was live in security for the party host, and had to get up to take care of a couple things, so I quietly crept out. When I returned, he was still snoring away, so I sat at my desk and read. When he woke up, he explained that after the party had wound down, and just a few people were awake talking, one of the other guests started becoming verbally hostile to him, saying homophobic things, insinuating threats and such. Everyone was asleep, and he was afraid to leave, but didn't feel safe anywhere there. I had my own room, and he knew I was straight, but not a homophobe. My employer/host was super gay, so he knew he'd be safe with me. He tried to wake me up, but said I just mumbled and went back to sleep. I was pretty pissed he had been harassed, and embarrassed I had not awoken. I reassured him that it was fine, and brought him with me to staff breakfast. The other staff giggled and whispered, thinking we'd hooked up, and I did not deny it, because how could I do that without making him feel undesirable? I treated him like a king, bringing him his food and coffee, introducing him to the staff as a trusted friend, then letting him pick which of my boss's cars to get driven home in by my boss's driver. He chose the Porsche. The guy who hassled him was ushered into a private room by a couple of us. At the next party he attended, my boss threw like 3 a week, and we explained if he ever made the little effeminate guy uncomfortable again, we'd fuck his world up. Then he was escorted off the property and told never to return. I felt flattered that the little guy trusted me, and it strikes my ego that people thought I'd managed to hook up with him, as he was a very classy, attractive man, outside my league, like a small Pierce Brosnan. Story 6. I blacked out, woke up naked on a toilet. I go to flush the toilet. The handle isn't where it should be. I look around. This is not my apartment. My phone and clothes were on the floor, but my phone was dead. I had literally just moved to this town the day before. I didn't even know my new address, so without a phone I was stuck in this apartment. I left the bathroom, looked in the living room, and found 4 girls passed out all along the couches. Didn't know any of them. What the hell did I get myself into last night? I go open the closest bedroom door. I don't know that girl either. From what I remember, it was the first Friday of a new internship, and all the interns went out drinking. I open up the final door, and I see this girl that I recognize from the internship. She had seemed like she was into me this week, and I remember her being involved with many shots. I wasn't exactly keen on being involved with the girl, but considering how drunk I was, I wouldn't put it past myself doing something like this. I decided that I'm far too intoxicated to make any other move right now. I climb into bed with her and hope that I made the right call. Morning came, and she seemed cool with everything, so I sighed with relief and asked her for a charger and a ride home. Story 7. My family owns a big farm in Queensland, Australia, and it's mostly just untouched bushland, but we lease the area out to a cattle producer. Since we have breeding land, we have a lot of calves every couple of years, and there is a feral dog population that hangs around trying to pick off the calves, so I go around every few weeks or so and do a several-day hunting trip just walking around. It was in the middle of a drought, so I couldn't light a fire, so I just slept in a sleeping bag under a tree in an area I knew pretty well. It was a randomly cold night in summer, so I was happy to get rugged up. I woke up in the morning with my left leg feeling really tight, and I tried to shimmy my pants down in the sleeping bag because I thought they were just tangled up a bit. I felt something odd, so I unzipped the sleeping bag, and there was a red belly black snake wrapped around my leg, having a good snooze. I was so dead tired, I wasn't even freaking out. I just tapped it awake and said, "Hey mate, can you leave?" And it released my leg and just buggered off. I should have been way more scared at the time, but I was destroyed from the day before. Story 8. I drank a lot and did Xanax, so I barely remembered the night before. I woke up naked in a bed. There was another guy in the bed. I presumed he was naked too, because he didn't have a shirt on, and the blanket covered everything below. I just got up and got dressed and left. The guy didn't even get up. I didn't want to wake him up. I was extremely confused and just figured that I fucked the guy. I had never been into men and never done anything with a guy. I was honestly freaked out. 3 days later, I get a call, and it's apparently the guy saying I left my headphones there and that he wanted to know I got home okay. He said I dropped them on the ground when I took my clothes off in the middle of the night. I was like, "What do you mean, the middle of the night?" He apparently offered me a place to sleep because I was too drunk to get on the subway, and I was fully clothed. But sometime in the middle of the night I got up and drank 2 shots of liquor, and then took all of my clothes off and danced in his room, and asked that he record me dancing, then passed out in the bed. I became friends with him, and he sent me the video of me dancing naked in his room, and I still have that video today. Story 9. My story isn't exactly what this question seeks, but close. In the college dorms, sometimes my roommate and I would come in late. Sometimes we forgot to lock the door. Well, one night, I woke in the dark to a man reaching under my covers and begging to climb into my bed with me. My response: "What the fuck are you doing? This is my bed." Drunk, high, or both. "Motherfucker, no it's not." "Dude, it's my bed." Tries to get in again, and I push his stumbly ass midroom. I wake up the roomie, and we get him outside of our door and lock it, both wide awake. Scratching and knocks with handle wobbling continued for what felt like an eternity. Yet, we didn't learn our lesson. Later on, months later, I woke up at like 6 a.m. to my roomie. He began, "Hey man, someone's in my bed." I spent the night late in the room with a friend who didn't leave till 3 a.m., and my half-awake mind suspected it was him. My response: "It's probably just name. Sorry about that." Didn't open my eyes. Roommate persisted. "Dude, he's not wearing anything but boxers, and isn't name." Eventually I took a look, and sure shit, a drunk guy came into our room while my roommate went to the bathroom and passed out in his bed.